Welcome to another edition of Business Talk here on businesstech.co.za, South Africa's #1 business news platform. I'm your host, as always, Michael Avery, and today we're shifting gears into smart insurance. And we're going to talk about how small businesses, really the lifeblood of South Africa's economy, can better protect themselves against the curveballs that life and business love to throw at us. Now, if you're an entrepreneur or if you're an SME owner, you probably know the feeling of juggling operations, you're juggling finance, you've got staff, maybe even your own coffee machine repair. But when it comes to risk, that's juggling a ball you really don't want to drop. And thankfully, there's a new product designed for exactly that kind of situation and for you in mind. Joining me today is Leruo Malumo, who is Head of Product Strategy, Development and Governance at Santam, to talk about their new SmartSME product, which is a next-gen insurance solution really tailored to small businesses. So, Leruo, great to have you on the show. Let's just start with the big picture. In your experience working with SMEs, what are the most common challenges they face when it comes to securing and understanding business insurance?
So thanks for having me, Michael. There's a couple of things when, we spoke to a lot of business owners and they gave us almost a rundown of the major themes that there's, issues that they struggle with. First being access to digital tools, but in this case, not necessarily, another app to download. They said what really works for them is chat-based interactions. So WhatsApp is quite key. They're very busy. They like to be able to start a conversation, head back to the front of the shop, and then pick it up an hour or two late as far as placing the insurance. The second was distribution channels, and not so much just the choice of distribution channels, but also the ability to move between channels with their insurer. So if they've come through to us via a direct channel, they don't want that to mean that they never have the benefit of an advisor coming out to their shop and sitting down for a cup of tea to talk through the insurance. Similarly, if they came to us through a intermediated or broker channel, they still want some ability, some self-service capability. Number 3 was affordability, which is key. It's a low growth environment. Times are tough, so it's the given. The 4th was personalization, just the sense that their insurer really sees them for who they are, and doesn't speak with a sort of broad brush strokes as if talking to the largest of corporates the same way they would speak to a small business. The next was simplifying everything. So again, small business owners are very hands-on. You're the chef, you're the marketer, you're the finance person, and there's an expectation that they understand all of the contracts they enter into themselves, even if someone else is facilitating the placement of the cover. So they said, make it simple, make it understandable. I read everything, I need to know everything. So that was key. And the 6th was, the 6th was excellent and responsive claims. And here it wasn't necessarily that a claim is resolved within, 20 minutes, but it's that your insurer is really proactive about saying what's about to happen, how long it will take, what to expect next, and when you can expect the next piece of communication. That kind of proactive engagement was critical. The 7th was this idea of more than insurance. So rewards and unexpected value. If you go to your bank, you might be able to now, buy a PlayStation or get insurance from your bank. If you go to a telco, you might be able to get small business funding or insurance from them. And the expectation now is that, a leading insurer can do more than just say, here's, a contract which stipulates our obligation to pay should the worst happen. So it's more than insurance. And then last was this idea of helping to create an employee value proposition. Or as I like to say, it helped me to help my employees. A lot of these businesses typically have maybe just 3 to 5 employees, including the business owner. And there's a really personal sense of accountability or responsibility towards this group of people who are helping me realize my dreams. So is there something you can do that I can extend to my employees that creates a place that really is home? These are people whose baby showers I go to, whose weddings I go to, It's not a spreadsheet of, personnel ID numbers somewhere. That's really key and something we want to build out over time.
And no surprises there in what you've just sketched out in terms of the priorities for SMEs, because they don't have the luxury of having a chief risk officer. They don't have the kinds of budgets that big corporates have, and that kind of simplicity, but also that understanding and the ability to want to engage in a multi-channel way, because you never know where you're going to be, in the office, on the road. Are you going to want to speak to someone in person, or maybe just deal with something quickly via WhatsApp? Now, you've launched something called SmartSME to respond to all of these challenges. It's a daunting ask. In plain English, what exactly is SmartSME and what makes it different?
So very simply, what SmartSME is, it's a small business insurance solution that is intended to be affordable, simple to understand, easy to interact with, digitally accessible, and with extra benefits to support a small business. And really those 5 points framed our design approach to building out the solution. It's really about, like you say, for that small business that needs something that makes sense, can be engaged with in a very intuitive manner, and is accessible.
Now, eligibility, I think, is always a key question. What kind of business qualifies for SmartSME? Are there size or turnover thresholds or industry exclusions when it comes to who's eligible for accessing this solution?
Yeah, so we couldn't, in order to be really, to hit the mark, we couldn't build for all scenarios, and really had to zero down on who it is we're speaking to. And we did look at things like asset turnover, but obviously from an insurance perspective, it is the asset value that really drives a lot of how the cover plays out. So we took a look at, what's the typical asset turnover ratio for small businesses within South Africa, and using a 5 million rand turnover figure. We got to this idea of 5 million rands in your assets, based on some stats around a 0.95 asset turnover ratio. So to qualify for the product, first of all, your business must have no more than 5 million rands in property assets, and that's buildings and contents. Obviously, a lot of small businesses are more likely to be tenants than property owners. But that is the max at which we've currently capped it at. Secondly, you must have no more than 5 vehicles. It's not really something that's intended for large fleets. And because, where small businesses tend to skew motor only or motor heavy, it does pose a risk to the sustainability of the platform if you have masses of clients who don't have much more than just a bakkie, or a range of bakkies. And we wanted to make sure that this portfolio is sustainable. So then we said, okay, no more than 5 vehicles, although that is something I'm definitely keen to look at, as the product is rolled out, what the experience is, and whether there's scope and demand for larger sized, call it small fleets. And then thirdly, the third criteria is that you must be a qualifying business type. We have curated a list of 260 odd business types, or business occupations. And this is on the basis that we are comfortable across, your property cover, your liability cover, your vehicle cover, that we would not trigger any kind of underwriting conditions. So what was really key for that ease of access and easy experience is that there are no surprises where you say, this is what I want to do, I need to cover this, and we say it's going to be a back and forth over 2 days to figure out how exactly to place that.
Yeah.
SmartSME product, the intention is that if you qualify, if you're a qualifying business type, you're under that 5 million rand property asset threshold and less than 5 vehicles, that it is a straight through process. It's an immediate quote, and you get your policy immediately. And that was the key criteria. Yeah.
So what parts of a business does that cover then? Actually, I mean, are we talking assets, liability, cyber threats, business continuity, something else? What do you get in terms of the overall package?
Right. So the overall package really consists of 5 major groupings or lines of cover. The first being your people. which provides cover for employee injury or death. So your star, baker in your coffee shop has an accident, and this pays out to cover the cost from a continuity point of view of replacing them in the interim, or assisting with whatever their particular needs are. Maybe they need a wheelchair, maybe they need. So that's your people. The second being your property, which is cover for property loss or damage, but is extended if you require to include theft cover for your contents or theft of fixtures, building fixtures, the transport of contents to and from your premises. So think of, your plumber picking up a client's washing machine, and for that period it's on the road. God forbid anything should happen, there's cover for that washing machine and its care. And then electronic and portable equipment. So that all falls under your property. Thirdly is your money. And here we're talking about cash on hand on the premises, or cash which you've taken out after close of business hours to your home that you're keeping overnight, up to a limit. Electronic funds in the event of fraud, and your receptacle. So things like your till, if that's damaged during an armed robbery, your safe, etc. And then within that, your money grouping as well is the business interruption component. So loss of income if you have a loss at your premises. So this might be the revenue on a revenue basis, or wages that you need to pay, or rent payable that you need to pay while you are reestablishing your operations, or it's rent receivable because it's a business premises from which you actually received rent, and you can insure that rent in the event of a loss. Fourthly is your vehicles. So that's your standard motor cover. Fifthly is your legal exposure, so general liability, and that includes tenant's liability. If you're a tenant and you damage the landlord's property, and you're held liable for that. It can be extended to include products liability if you and defective workmanship. If you're working on someone's premises or you distribute products, and you're held liable for damages as a result. And those are the five main categories of cover.
That is a lot of cover. I mean, it's like you're an SME, you go in and you get one policy to cover almost every key asset and feature of your business. It really is compelling. Looking at the brochure before we started this chat, Leruo, one feature that really stood out for me is Business Assist. How does this go beyond traditional insurance to actually help entrepreneurs run or even improve their businesses? Because this is also an area where I think many entrepreneurs, and particularly small businesses, the coffee shop that you mentioned, do need a bit of extra help.
Right. Absolutely. So Businesses was a response to that feedback business owners were giving around, give me more than insurance. It's all well and good we have this policy in place, but not everything necessarily that I need falls within the ambit of loss events. Yeah. And here what we put together was a bundle for 40 Rand a month, which gives you access to things like a finance assist service. So if you need to talk through your tax affairs, if you need help with debt counseling, if you need help with outstanding debts and collections, we can help with getting that collection done. And then secondly is marketing assist, because you might have, you might be great at making coffee, but getting the word out is something else entirely. And here this is access to, service providers who can help with logo design, who can help with setting up a Facebook business page, setting up your domain, or a direct mail marketing campaign up to a limit per year. And then there's labor and HR assist, which is things like your employee contracts, support with CCMA hearings, payroll support. Fourthly, IT assist, which is a help desk. So someone to call and troubleshoot issues from an IT and tech point of view, with the benefit of guidance as far as particular software that you might need and where you can get that. And then a concierge service, which basically when you need that outsourcing of some brain space to run around, get some quotes and some things we need in the office, or get some quotes perhaps even on a personal basis. Business owners planning a trip, who can help with that. And there's the benefit of a tender assist benefit. So if you can sign up to say, I'm really looking out for tenders of a certain type, could you notify me as these are gazetted, and we can do that for you. And then lastly is an emergency and convenience benefit, which is extended to all of our clients.
That is remarkable. I mean, really, in one product to have all of that value add, not just on the insurance side, but just assisting the SME, and it's almost like you're the key consultant, more than just the insurer. So finally, if you're a small business owner listening right now and you're not thinking that this sounds exactly like what I need, then I'm not sure what kind of business you're in. But how do you take the first step towards getting smart SME cover?
So very simply, you can go through to our website, santam.co.za, search for small business insurance, and you can get a quote there. So there's an online quote capability, which will take you all the way through to a price. It's not just a callback request. So you can see upfront exactly what you would pay, and then say, yes, I'd like this. And one of our consultants will call you ASAP to place that cover. Or alternatively, you can call direct on 0860 444 444. Just mention you heard this on the Michael Avery show, and we can take you through a smart SME quote in no time at all.
Well, I'm going to be punting this to my local coffee shop, fingers crossed, because this is exactly the kind of thing that they need, keeping their risks covered, but their ambitions uncovered. Thank you, Leruo Malumo from Santam, for joining us and for innovating in a space where I think we need this kind of support for our SMEs in South Africa. They are, at the end of the day, our everyday heroes to get growth going again. Thanks for your time.
Absolutely. Thanks very much, Michael.